Hello friends, and welcome to this video. By the title you know what's going on, so let's just get right into it. Disney remakes. Do we love them? Do we hate them? Me personally, I enjoy them. I think a lot of people make the mistake of going in and expecting them to be as good as the original. That's never going to happen. I think that's where a lot of the stigma comes from with they're not as good as the originals or they were terrible films. You take away the originals and they're great films. Well, that's in my opinion anyway. Everything in this video will just be an opinion. I'm not stating fact. Unless there's a fact that I am stating. But yeah, me personally, I enjoy them. I enjoy going to the cinema, sitting down, like reliving some of the classics, getting the songs and getting it revamped with today's technology and, everything that we have, the means, to push some of the stories forward. I think people just need to sit back, switch off and enjoy them as a film rather than, take them as a carbon copy. So anyway, I was going through like a list of Disney remakes that are in the works or have been in talks to be in the works. And I was so excited to see that one of my favourites, and I think one of the most, if not the most underrated Disney film, is getting remade. And that is The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I love this film. Like I said, I think it's underrated. People don't give it enough credit. I'm interested to see the direction in which they go with it. Are they going to go like shot for shot, try to keep it as close to the original product like they did with Lion King? Are they going to try and switch things up like they did with Aladdin? I don't know. Are they going to land somewhere in between? We'll have to see. So that got me thinking, if I was in charge of casting, Disney, hello. If I was in charge of casting, who would I pick? First of all, I just want to say, I would be happy if they cast complete unknowns in this, because the movie itself is big enough. It doesn't need names to bring it in. You had the likes of The Greatest Showman, that I feel it needed big names like Hugh Jackman, Zac Efron, Zendaya. Like, you needed those people to draw them in because it was an unknown musical. It was an original. But with the likes of these Disney remakes, the names are already big. They're big enough to hold it on its own. So it does not need a star-studded cast. With that being said, this is just my dream cast of if I got to pick people I knew, off of their ability, off of what I've seen them do, off what I think they're able to do. Like I said, this is my opinion.
That's my opinion!
This isn't like, I'm not saying that these have to be cast, that I am right. This is just, if I had the choice, these are people I would cast. Everyone has their own opinion, everyone has their own views. I'd like to hear people's views on it, whether they agree or disagree with me. I like to have a bit of a discussion about it, see people that I mightn't have thought of, that like people would suggest, and I go, that's way better. Because casting is a huge part of any film, obviously. And from examples, we've seen that Disney haven't always hit the nail on the head there. So, here is my dream cast for The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I'm going to start with the smaller characters and then work my way up to the leads, because it's more exciting that way and it keeps you watching, hopefully. Or you can just skip forward. So, I'm going to begin with the three gargoyles, which are Victor, Hugo, and Laverne. Now, I watched it last night, and they're fun characters, but I think some of their scenes really pull you out of the story. They're great for moral support because everyone needs someone to talk to, whether they are just gargoyles. But, they're good in that sense of Quasi needs someone, or else he would go absolutely insane if he's on his own the whole time and no one to talk to. He talks to the gargoyles and they talk back. Now, whether that is a figment of his imagination or they are actually magical gargoyles. So we'll leave that to your decision to see what you think of that. But I think they need to be toned down a bit. They can't be as childish, or they can't pull from the story as much. Now, who would I cast? The first one I'm going to cast is Hugo. So he is the comedic relief among the gargoyles. All the gargoyles are the comedic relief within the film, but he would be the funnier one when the other two are trying to be serious, he'd come in with a joke. So I kind of got thinking, who would I cast? And a few people like popped into my head, like the Jonah Hill. You know, he's a funny guy. He can like riff as well. Like he'll like, you know, pop off with different things. You know, so they could have really a lot of fun in the recording studio. You know, they could kind of let him go off and then let the animators, you know, jump on top of that like they did with Robin Williams in Aladdin. Jack Black has experience with voice acting from Kung Fu Panda. You know, he's very funny. I feel maybe I never paid attention to him much, but I feel he's on the rise again. You know, after Jumanji, you know, I think he started coming back up. You know, he took a little bit of a break or a little bit of a lull in his career, and now I feel he's coming back. So this could be the perfect time for him to hop on a Disney film. But then I got thinking, I know that Josh Gad is producing this, and as an actor, I would imagine that he'd want some part in the film. Now, I see a lot of signs pointing to him that he's vying for the role of Quasimodo. And although I think he's a great actor and he's very talented, I just don't think he'd be right for Quasimodo. Because Quasimodo is a huge role. I could be completely wrong. And I'd love to see him in a role that would prove me wrong. But just not this one, please. If he wants to help produce it, I'd say take a back seat. Either don't be in it at all or take a smaller role. And I think that role could be Hugo. Josh Gad is a great voice actor. He's done Olaf. He's one of people's favourite characters in Frozen, within the whole Frozen franchise. So, you know, I think he'd be great at that. He did a phenomenal job as LeFou. So I also think, you know, you've done enough. Take a step back and just produce it. But if he really wants to be in it, I'd give him the role of Hugo. Next one, Victor. Victor, older, wiser, we think. They could have been all carved at the same time. They were probably carved at the same time. But he appears to be older and wiser. So this needs a person, you know, with a presence, you know, with the voice that can carry it. So my first thought instantly went to like Idris Elba. You know, he's got that big, deep voice, you know, very recognizable, very wise. But then I thought he voiced one of the characters in The Jungle Book. Was it Shere Khan? I think it was Shere Khan. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, he voiced Shere Khan in The Jungle Book. So would Disney pull away from reusing him? Possibly. So then that got me thinking, who else could do it? Who else has a voice that's commanding, that's recognizable, you know, that is, you know, very intelligent sounding, and someone maybe that has done voiceover before, done CGI motion capture almost, and that drew me to Benedict Cumberbatch. He was the voice of Smaug in The Hobbit, so I think he'd be brilliant. You know, his voice is perfect for it. He can play around with it. You know, he can be very quick and sharp, like he was in Sherlock. If they wanted him to do an American accent for some strange reason, because they seem to do that a lot. You know, he did it in Avengers with Doctor Strange. I think he'd be a great choice for Victor. So Benedict Cumberbatch is my choice for Victor. Okay, for Laverne. She appears to be older still. So I'm beginning to think that these gargoyles were carved at different times. She's an older presence, you know, she seems to be the motherly figure to Quasimodo, you know, that sweet voice when the other two are almost joking around or, you know, having a bit of fun. I was trying to think, would you cast an older actress? You probably would. But then from watching it last night and listening to the voice, one person jumped out at me straight away just to kind of match the voice type, and I think would do a great job of being, you know, quick-tongued when it comes to the pigeons landing on her. You know, she's really annoyed at that, so she's always giving out about that, getting angry about that, but then could be a soft side as well. And plus, if they keep the Gargoyles song in it, she has a Broadway background, and she has a great voice for singing, and that would be Jane Lynch. I think she could be sharp-tongued like she was as Sue in Glee, and then she can be nice and soft, you know, when, as you see her again in Sue, when all those scenes with her sister, you know, she can reel it back. She could be that motherly figure, you know, she was that older loving sister. So I think she'd be fantastic for this role. So I'm giving Laverne to Jane Lynch. Okay, the next role that I'm going to cast is Phoebus. So Phoebus is, you know, the handsome, brave, funny at times, you know, captain who unlike everybody else, is nice to the gypsies. This was a tough role to cast, in my opinion, because although within the Disney classic he doesn't sing, I reckon what they'll do is they'll do something along the same lines as Aladdin and add some songs. And I think there will be a love song between Phoebus and Esmeralda. I know there is in the Broadway version, but I think they're not going to go near the Broadway version. I think they're going to stick to the original movie and add some bits in it. So that got me thinking, who could play Phoebus? My first thought that popped into my head was someone like Chris Hemsworth. Would he be the obvious role? I think he would. But I think he is on the older side. Him and Esmeralda have to have this love thing. And within the movie, Esmeralda's in her early 20s. Chris Hemsworth, gorgeous man, but I think he looks a bit too old for this. So then I was like, maybe Liam Hemsworth. Don't think he can sing. I went doing some research on everyone I was picking and seeing could they sing, and I'll name a few more who I thought would be decent for this role or would suit before I had the idea of they'll probably get him to sing. Sebastian Stan, loved him in Winter Soldier. You know, I think he's got more and more to come. He's a great actor, and I think he just got a great presence, and he would look right as Phoebus. Another person I thought was Channing Tatum. A lot of people may laugh at the idea of him being Phoebus and even having to take on like a more serious role, but I think he's extremely underrated. You know, I thought he did a fantastic job in Foxcatcher that I don't think people gave enough credit for. And I think he's got a lot in the tank. I think it's similar to the likes of Robert Pattinson, who just need that role to push them in the direction of I am a serious actor, rather than a heartthrob or just a comedic actor. And then one hit me that I was like, this could work. Chris Pine. He's good looking. You know, he's played royalty, I say Captain Prince, before in Into the Woods. He has a great singing voice.
Any moment, big or small, is a moment after all. Seize the moment, skies may fall any moment.
So he could pull off that aesthetic of someone in power and then to fall in love and to sing as well. So this is providing now to go down the route of adding a song for Phoebus and Esmeralda, or even Phoebus on his own. So Chris Pine is my choice for Phoebus. Okay, next on the list is someone that I don't think gets enough credit in the movie, or even is considered as a huge role, is Clopan, who is the jester. He introduces the story, he breaks it down. The first song, The Bells of Notre Dame, is brilliant. It's so well done. You know, the narrative is fantastic. The way they do it within the animation is unbelievable. So I'm really excited actually to see how they do that in the live action. This was really difficult because there are so many character actors that I think could really dive into this part and do it justice and even like shake it up a little bit. Then I needed to think of someone with the vocals that he has. Clopan has some big songs, The Bells of Notre Dame and the Feast of Fools song, like Topsy Turvy. They're big songs. So who would be able to play Clopan? So the first one that popped into my mind was Sacha Baron Cohen. Characters are his thing. You know, Borat, Bruno. He did The Dictator. He's great at immersing himself into a role and becoming, you know, a completely different person, which would really lend itself to this movie. In Les Mis, you know, he was Master Thénardier, so he really did that role justice, and it was a musical. He sang.
Master of the house, doling out the charm, ready with a handshake and an open palm.
But does he have the singing ability needed for Clopan? If they decide to pull a Greatest Showman on this and overdub one of the actors, I will flip my lid. I think that is a complete cop-out. You should not sacrifice a character and their ability just for the name. So if you want an actor to play a role in a musical, you better make sure they can sing and sing it well, especially when the songs are so iconic, like in Hunchback. in any Disney film. Let's backtrack. Clopan. Sacha Baron Cohen would be fantastic. He would embody the role. He'd add his own little things. I think he could really add to the film. But does he have the singing ability to pull off his songs? Next, I thought someone with singing ability who would really embody a character. And that brought me to Jared Leto. He is the lead singer of 30 Seconds to Mars. And he really dives into every character he plays. All of them may not be liked. Yes, the Joker was a swing and a miss. But he did something different that no one had done. He didn't take Heath Ledger's Joker and say, I'm going to do that. He completely switched it. Yeah, it didn't work, but you can't fault him for his effort. So that was another choice of mine to play Clopan. And he has that look as well. I can see him playing Clopan, playing the jester jumping around. But then someone else hit me when I was watching other videos and seeing what other people thought who would be great in the roles, who would be perfect, who they think would be in it. And I was watching Edison Ben. I hope I'm saying that right. I watched their breakdown. And the person that they named that could play Clopan hit so well that I think it would be brilliant. And that person is Leslie Odom Jr. He was in Rent, a very demanding musical. And then, of course, the role that everyone basically knows him for, or the one at least he got famous for, was Aaron Burr in Hamilton. His performance in Hamilton was phenomenal.
I've got to be, I've got to be, I've got to be, I gotta be, click boom.
It won him a Tony. It elevated his name a bit more. Like, after that, he started doing movies. He released an album as well. So I think he would be a great choice. Like, the way he just embodies a role, he puts everything into it. Plus, his voice is amazing. So I can really see him being able to pull off The Bells of Notre Dame, Topsy-Turvy. Like, he would really, really bring justice to this role. So I'm going to cast Leslie Odom Jr. as Clopan. Okay, now we're getting into the big leagues. First, I'm gonna go with Frollo. In my opinion, he is the most evil Disney villain. Because, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, he has nothing to gain from being mean to Quasimodo. He doesn't seem to have a clear motivation. Unlike the other Disney villains, not saying they're right, but at least they have a motivation. Scar, he wants to be king. So yeah, he kills his brother. And he forces Simba to leave. But it's because he wants to be king. Gaston, he wants Belle. And he sees that Belle is off with the beast. And so he's like, kill the beast because he's big and evil and holding her captive. So I want to be the big hero and rescue Belle. So they all have motivations. But Frollo, in my opinion, doesn't. He's just evil. At the beginning of the film, he goes to drown a baby. Enough said. So that got me thinking, who could play evil convincingly? My first thought jumped to Jeremy Irons because he has the look of Frollo. He has the voice for Frollo. But then I thought, would Disney cast him because he's already been an iconic villain? He was the voice of Scar, of course. So I pushed him to the side. I was like, sorry, Jeremy, you got your shot. Then I started thinking, who else? One person that popped into mind because they have the look is Peter Capaldi. Doctor Who actor, British. He would have the voice. He would have the look for it. I don't know if he has the singing ability to pull off Hellfire.
Hellfire, dark fire, now Gypsy, it's your turn.
Hellfire is a huge song, and I think it really needs to be done correctly. It's one of the most famous songs in the musical, so, it needs to be done right. So then I went racking my brain, who could pull this off? Curveball here. I think Johnny Depp. Now, this is in an ideal world where everyone gets on and everyone is friends and there are no scandals everywhere in the world, okay? That's all I'll say about that. Johnny Depp, in my opinion, is one of the greatest, if not the greatest character actors of all time. From what he has done with characters he has given, and made them iconic. Nominated 3 times for Oscars. He hasn't won, which is a travesty, but that's my own little vendetta against the Academy, so I will leave that there. I just think with everything he does, he makes it a little bit different. No two characters are the same. From what he did with Sweeney Todd, I can see hints of Frollo in that.
You, sir, too, sir. Welcome to the grave. I will have vengeance. I will have salvation.
So, with that being said, throw on a grey wig, slap on a robe, punch in for that extreme close-up, and I think that Johnny Depp is the perfect person to play Frollo. Now, Esmeralda. This was also quite difficult. There are so many people that I think would do the role justice. The first person that popped into my mind was Zendaya. You know, she has the right look, she can sing, she did a great job in The Greatest Showman, but I think she's too young. Yeah, if this film is made in 2 or 3 years' time, she could have aged up, could look a bit older, you know, makeup can do that, but I just think she is a bit young, and it should go to someone else. Then I was thinking, who else could do it? Then it brought me to Zoe Saldana. You know, again, she's the right look for it, she's brilliant in the Guardians films, and I think she'd do a great job, but can she sing? Then I went down the Hamilton route, and I thought that someone that didn't get enough credit for Hamilton was Jasmine Cephas-Jones. She played Peggy and Mariah Reynolds, and she switched between the two of them vocally as well as the look. And with Peggy, she had this very high-pitched, you know, almost juvenile voice. But then in Act 2, she came out as this like sultry, seductive Mariah Reynolds with a deeper, soulful voice. And I think if she can find that space in between, she would be a fantastic casting for Esmeralda. But then another person that I thought would be slightly better, keeping with the Hamilton family, is Ariana DeBose. She is a phenomenal vocalist. You know, her ability to move as well. Esmeralda is a dancer. She dances around the streets of Paris. She's up on the stage during the Feast of Fools. She's entertaining the crowd. And from being one of the ensemble members and the Bullet from Hamilton, we've seen that she can dance. She's a phenomenal dancer. She's also playing Anita in the West Side Story movie. She's also cast in The Prom. Now, she does look very young in The Prom, but I think she's very aged down in that, because from seeing her in Hamilton and seeing pictures and stills from West Side Story, she looks older, and Anita is an older character. So I think that she would really fit this role. My choice for Esmeralda is Ariana DeBose. Now, the big one. Who would I cast as Quasimodo? Surprisingly, this was the easiest person to cast. As soon as I started thinking of it, I thought of the voice, I thought of the acting ability, I thought of the mannerisms. And before I get into it, I do think that this should go to someone who is primarily a singer or a theatre actor. Someone that's been on Broadway. Someone that has theatre training. Because what I don't want is them to cast someone for their name and then, like I said, have to overdub them. Because that just takes away from it being genuine, from it being authentic. Personally, I would love if this was made in the style of Les Mis, where they sang live. Now, maybe that's harder to do than I realised, but Les Mis, it was really effective because we knew every person cast was singing live and they had the ability, and it was raw and it was there in the moment. It wasn't like sing first, act later. It was do both at the same time, and I think that would really bring a lot to this story. The first one that jumped out at me, Broadway actor from Les Mis the movie, Aaron Tveit. You know, he played Aldros in Les Mis. Fantastic job.
Black, the night that ends at last.
He's been on Broadway. He's, you know, a Broadway legend at this point. He's still very young, and Quasimodo has to be young. You know, in the movie he's 20. So you need someone that can play 20 to 25. You know, that can look young for it to be believable. Now, I do realise that they will be putting a lot of prosthetics on whoever plays the character, because Quasimodo has to look hideous. But to carry it off vocally and performance-wise, you know, you need someone that is not just an actor from start until cut, but is an actor on stage for 2 hours straight, 8 shows a week, that can just stay in it and really immerse the role. So, you know, I think Aaron Tveit would be a great choice. Another person whose name that has come up, and I'll discuss it, is Taron Egerton. Great actor. You know, I love a lot of the stuff he's done. He's got a lovely voice. In Sing, he was great. Rocket Man, he was fantastic.
And you can tell everybody this is your song.
But I don't think his voice is strong enough, especially to carry off the likes of Out There, which personally is my favourite Disney song. He would do a great job, but I just don't think he'd be the perfect person for it. Which leads me to the person I instantly cast when I heard of this live action remake. I am a huge fan of this person. So when I think of Quasimodo, the first thing that pops out to me is that iconic vibrato in Out There.
Top there, living in the sun.
So who is there that can match that vibrato, that can hold up vocally, theatrically trained, immerses themselves into every role? Mr. Ben Platt. He's phenomenal. His performance in Dear Evan Hansen, it made me really appreciate how talented he was.
I never let them see the worst of me.
To be able to portray that many emotions and that level on stage every night, it's really hard to do, and it's so impressive. Not only that, but in Dear Evan Hansen, he plays a person who is anxious, who's shy, who hides away from everyone. And that's what Quasimodo is. Also then, if you switch it over to his performance in The Politician, he's completely different. So he's able to tweak and to change around his performances to suit any role. That's why, with all of those strengths and weapons, you put them together, and I think Ben Platt would be the perfect choice for Quasimodo. So there it is. That is my dream casting for The Hunchback. If you agree with me, fantastic. If you don't, that's fine too. You know, comment down below if you think I got it right. If you think there's anyone that you say, absolutely not, Shane, you were completely wrong about that. You know, send me, you know, some choices that you have yourself. Who would you like to see? Now, again, this is just my opinion. I'm not going gospel on any of this. So, you know, I'm not pushing my views on anyone. I just wanted to get them out there and see if people think the same way. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. And that it wasn't too long, and that I'm not out of my mind for casting some people. But yeah, I'd love to do more. So if you have any suggestions that you want me to try and dream cast, let me know. If not, I'll probably still do some. So yeah, yeah, give it a like, you know, comment down below, subscribe if you liked it, if you want to see more, and yeah, so it'll be interesting now to see what happens and where they go with it. And will any of my Dreamcast be in it? See you guys. Thanks for watching.